So I was scrolling through the internet and I decided to look at this thread on Reddit that basically highlighted all of the primary issues that America has, but from the perspective of Europeans. There's a lot of issues that Europeans don't quite understand that America has that are kind of issues that need to have solutions, but they still don't to this day. And I thought it was pretty interesting reading through some of them. So that's what this video is going to be about. If you guys have any issues you've noticed in America that are overarching or things that don't get talked about as much, let me know in the comments down below. If you guys have visited the United States as well, please give me your experience in the comments down below. But before we get started, make sure you like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. We have a ton of comments that are pertaining to this particular topic, and I really want to get into it because I thought they were pretty interesting. This first one is pretty lengthy, so grab some popcorn. As it says, obligatory. I'm American, but I work remotely for a European country. My European colleagues cannot wrap their heads around the fact that most Americans, do not have employment contracts. Recently, I had a conversation with a colleague, and I could see her visibly glitch after she made a comment about something being in my employment contract, and I told her that I don't have one. Edit. This kind of blew up overnight for me. Let me explain a bit. I was originally hired by our US office. I interviewed and was eventually offered the job verbally. The company then sent me an offer that outlined starting salary, number of vacation days, 10 days, another thing that surprised my EU colleagues, and basic benefits. We negotiated, finalized numbers, salary, and I got a revised letter. Through a number of circumstances, I was transferred to our home office in Europe. My manager is there, my team is there, etc., and I work remotely from the US. Over the years, I've negotiated raises and more vacation time through my managers and our CEO, but don't have a contract. The offer letter is not a contract. In the US, most of us are employees at will, which means that we can be terminated at any time, as long as it's not a discriminatory reason. On the flip side, we can quit whenever we want, though it's traditional to give at least a 2 weeks notice. Edit 2. The employees at will concept only applies to non-union and others who do not have contracts. Very interesting stuff here. What I've noticed as well is when I've looked at the job market in Europe and how things tend to go over there, no matter what country, typically it's like whatever job you have, you're pretty much locked in for the most part, unless something extenuating happens and whatnot. And then as far as leaving, there's kind of like a courtesy that you give the company and stuff instead of just up and leaving. In America, there's a 2-week courtesy that you should give your employer, but it's not always guaranteed that people do that. There was a part-time job that I had, and instead of giving them a 2 weeks notice, I just quit. I just didn't show up to work, and I texted one of my coworkers, "Hey, I'm not coming back. I quit." And it messed things up. Don't do it like I did it, because that was definitely not great. But I actually think that not having a contract is pretty wild, kind of a loose cannon sort of situation. Don't you guys think that having a contract has set in stone boundaries that you've agreed with the employer that you're working for, so that nothing happens that's out of the ordinary, and it kind of covers your tracks a little bit, it covers your back? I think it's kind of a protective mechanism, which is why I really think that people need employment contracts, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Our next comment though was pretty interesting, as it brought up a pretty unique issue. Why pay $500 just to ride in the wee-woo car? Yeah, actually, you undercut the cost of that wee-woo car. Our ambulances cost way more than $500 for a ride. Even if it's just a minute away to the destination, it's gonna at least be $2,000 to $3,000 for a short distance ride. For a longer distance ride, longer than a minute, 2 minutes, you're probably looking at $5,000 plus. I've seen people's bills get as high as $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 for an ambulance ride, and the sky is the limit. I'm telling you, people profit big. I mean, the medical companies profit big off of ambulance rides, which is why people have gotten into the habit in America of taking an Uber to the hospital instead of taking an ambulance. It's so crazy, man. Times is hard right now. So that was another comment from a European that was like, why y'all pay that much money for the ambulance in America? Well, because people are money hungry, and that's just kind of the way things go over here. Well, our next comment from one of you guys that highlights a pretty interesting issue is the McDonald's ice cream machine being broken.
Hi, what can I get for you?
Is your ice cream machine working?
Yes, it is.
Okay, can I just get one vanilla ice cream cone?
It actually just broke.
Okay, so For those that don't understand what that is, in most places in America, if you ask for ice cream at any given McDonald's, they're going to tell you the machine's broken. Typically, what that means, translation, is nobody there wants to give you ice cream because it takes too much time to set the machine up and give you your little ice cream and then clean it all up and let it idle and whatnot. Basically, it's too much work for the staff members to give you ice cream, so a very easy way to circumvent giving you ice cream is just telling you that the ice cream machine is broken, because 9 times out of 10 it actually works, and they just do not want to deal with the chaos that is working on the ice cream machine, giving you ice cream. Now, I know you guys are like, well, isn't that their job? Yes, but when you're at a place that you don't really care for too much, you want to make your job as easy as possible. So I think that is why the ice cream machines are truly broken, okay? Are there some locations where the ice cream machines are genuinely broken? Yes, but they're not broken for long. They're not broken for long. People just don't want to use them. Anyways, our next comment says, I've lived in the US for 30 plus years and I still don't understand the fraternity sorority system. Oh my God, listen. So I had this infatuation with fraternities and sororities when I was a teen, and I'm like, wow, when I go to college, I want to join a fraternity and stuff. It'll be a cool sense of brotherhood, and I heard that there's connections you can make when you leave. But the reality is, I mean, I'm 30 now, so all the people that I know that have joined fraternities and sororities, have they used them to their advantage in their big adult age? Most of them, no. It was kind of just a thing to circumvent paying a whole lot of money for room and board in college and stuff. It's a really cool way to save, because you have, what, 11 plus people in each fraternity, sorority and whatnot, and a lot of times people are housed together and you guys do community events, and you know, you have a lot of fun together and whatnot too. But the main premise that was sold to a lot of people, especially in high schools, is that when you do eventually get the opportunity to join a fraternity or sorority, then you can use that leverage in the job market to get yourself business opportunities. But that's a very, very, very select few people. Like, I feel like people look more at your credentials as far as like what you're capable of doing to secure a job than like what fraternity you were in college. You know what I mean? So it's more of a social thing in college. You have kind of like a slightly higher status in college and whatnot, and it is an opportunity to network with some really cool people. But a lot of times I see that people don't really get to use that leverage outside of that setting. So I could be wrong. You guys let me know your experiences in the comments down below. But I honestly thought I got it when I was younger, and as I've gotten older, I'm like, actually, on top of that too, you do have to pay a monthly fee. You can't just join a fraternity or sorority without paying your share of whatever it is in that fraternity and sorority too. So there's a lot of contributions that go towards that. You're dedicating your time, your money to this entity and whatnot. And a lot of people want to be simply, they want to belong to an organization of some sort. So in that regard, it is pretty cool, but is it beneficial? I mean, one could argue, right? But for my people who have been in fraternities and sororities that are watching this, please let me know in the comments down below the pros and the cons of being a part of one, so that the other people that are watching this video can understand the pros and cons. I have never been in one before, so I don't truly know. Our next comment actually is a response to the comment we just read, which says, I was in a fraternity at a very small engineering focused university. Between 40% and 50% of the student population were members of the Greek life. At that school, it was so popular because there weren't many other good options for student housing around campus. It was also in a city with a fairly high crime rate. So if you didn't want to live in the dorms, overpriced and controlled by the university, it was much safer to be living in a house with 25 other guys than renting a sketchy house with 2 to 3 other people. That is also a very good point as well. Strength definitely comes in numbers. So if you are living in a dangerous area in the United States and stuff, and you are in a fraternity, then it would behoove you to be in a house together with 25 plus people, which sounds crazy, but not that crazy when all of you guys are chipping in to live in that location, because you guys are safe. I mean, you guys have like so many people going in and out of the house that for the most part, nothing's gonna happen to y'all. You know what I mean? But if you're by yourself in a dangerous neighborhood, oh my gosh, good luck. And I'm praying for your survival. But moving on to this next comment from one of you guys, which says, number 1, where are the streetlights in mostly part of the neighborhoods? At least here in South Dakota, having a walk after sunset is risky because it's pretty dark. Number 2, cars passing you in the highway by the right lane. Number 3, driving at 16 years old, voting at 18 years old, but not being able to drink until 21 years old. Crazy. Well, to answer your first question, streetlights are kind of just, I have no idea why they are placed in the areas that they're placed and why they are not placed in the areas that they are not placed. That's a state by state situation. I don't understand why they are designed like that. Maybe somebody has a better answer in the comments, but I do have an interesting answer for your second point, which was cars passing on the right side instead of the left. Now, don't get it twisted. You are supposed to only pass on the left side. In the left lane, that's the passing lane. But people love to do whatever the fuck they feel like when it comes to driving on American roads, man. And now in some states, the driving laws are very strict, so they will get pulled over and justice will be sought, okay? But for the most part, people drive like how they drive, and a lot of times that'll be at your expense. So be very defensive when you're driving, because the drivers out there are nuts, okay? They are nuts. It depends on the state that you're driving in, but for the most part, people kind of just do their own thing, man. So pay attention to the driver that's next to you and whatnot, and in front of you or in the nearby vicinity of your car, so you know how to react and when to react, because I promise you, if you don't stay ready, you'll have to get ready, and by that point, it'll be too late. Okay, and for your last point, number 3, getting a driver's license at 16 years old and then being able to vote at 18, but then not being able to drink until you're 21, that's all politics. All of it's politics, bro, because you could argue in favor of any of those 3 things at a younger age, and there will always be a political rebuttal to those things. In fact, one of the things that I thought was ridiculous is the original smoking age in America was 18, right? And everybody was cool with that. But all of a sudden, when Juul pods were making too much money, the government decided to bump up the age of smoking from 18 to 21 because they cared about the public and they cared about everyone's health. They don't give a fuck about everyone's health. If that was the case, they would have banned smoking, but they couldn't do that. It was a way to shut down the business for Juul pods because mostly older high school kids, like in their late teens, like 18, 19, whatever, were purchasing Juul pods and whatnot. And that phenom got ended pretty quickly. But now everybody vapes, so I'm not sure if it worked the way that they wanted it to. So there's that. Basically, it's money and politics. That's what it boils down to. But our next comment's pretty interesting, as it says, ISPs actually having data caps on wired connections in 2019. That boils down to capitalism. Okay, that boils down to capitalism. Yeah, I never understood that. Data caps with wired connections is crazy. I actually never even thought of that, honestly. I mean, I guess part of me did because I was paying for internet. I mean, I've always been paying for internet, but like, I'm not in the States right now. But when I was in the States, I was paying basically for a data cap. I didn't even know my data was capped and my stuff was wired into my devices. So I'm like, never thought of that. Like this next comment, which says, why are you incapable of building bathroom stalls without a 5-centimeter gap in it? For everyone asking what 5 centimeters is, it is roughly 2 inches or 0.16667 feet in your fantastic way of measuring things. Listen, I wonder the same goddamn thing. Why in the hell can I see your whole body through the bathroom stall gap? Why is there a gap? It doesn't make any sense to me. I've been making that point for a long time. And a lot of people that travel to America for the first time get to experience that, and it is quite uncomfortable because not only are there big old gaps in between the bathroom stall doors, but at the bottom of the door, it comes off the ground about 1/3 of a meter. That's insane work. They can see almost halfway up your shin, almost your entire shin. There's no way that you should be almost looking at someone's junk through the stall. You know what I'm saying? Because the stall is just real high. At that point, might as well be on stalls. It's crazy, bro. Like, and I know a lot of people that I've asked about it in the United States have said that it's like a fire code thing, a safety hazard thing or whatever. And I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Stop it. Stop it. The copium is crazy. Anyways, our next comment that brings up a very interesting point about problems in America says, sticking stuff into laws that have nothing to do with the law itself. You'd have laws on traffic safety and somebody would stick in the passage, riders I believe they are called, that prohibits abortion without consent of the father. I mean, how can you even stick a clause that has nothing to do with the actual topic? I know, that's very strange. Like, you have some laws that have amendments to them and the amendments have nothing to do with the law that they're amending, and I'm like, huh? Oh, what? Like, they just slapped that literally anywhere. Like, oh yeah, by the way, like, in addition to the Second Amendment, you are also allowed to make pizzas after 9 p.m. in your neighborhood. I'm like, what? That makes no sense, dude. What the fuck? That's a good point. That's something I've never thought of, ever. If anybody has a very valid answer that they think they got in the comments, please let me know, because I honestly don't understand why some of the amendments that have nothing to do with the law that they're attached to are in the law that they're attached to. Like, diabolical. But not as diabolical as this next point. Black Friday. Every time I see a video about it, I cringe. The behavior depicted is always utterly disgusting and so unbelievably primal. Over here, we have a prolonged period where extreme sales are allowed. And even though there's more shoppers than normal, I can't recall people being desperate for a stupid discounted item. Edit. A lot of very decent responses here. Thank you. I'm very happy to see this is completely overblown and that I was wrong for a big portion of it. That being said, it seems like media is a big problem. I should have known. Actually, Black Friday is a problem, and it's been a problem since its inception. But the reason why it's so popular is because the cost of living in America is incredibly high, and Black Friday is where you get the most killer deals on the entire planet for one day, and one day only, Black Friday. So, let me give you an example. Back in 2007, oh my gosh, I'm showing my age here, when the Nintendo Wii, PS3, Xbox 360 all kind of came out around the same time, Black Friday sales had the prices almost slashed in half. So people were flocking in droves to get them because otherwise, if they were to buy them at normal price, it would be virtually unaffordable. That applies to other things like, TVs, household appliances, whatever. You get them for literally 70, 80% off on Black Friday and Black Friday only. But the problem with that is people get so desperate because everybody and their pet cat shows up to these stores to go buy these items on a ridiculous sale that the store itself runs out of the items quite fast. So people in desperation of securing the items start getting violent. They attack each other for said items, whether it's the PlayStation, the Xboxes, the household appliances, whatever they could not normally afford that they can afford now because the prices are slashed. Yeah, they will be attacking each other for those items, and it's ridiculous. It is primal. It is very unfortunate. People have lost their lives annually during Black Friday because of how ridiculous it is. So the answer to that has been Cyber Monday, where you guys have seen it. I'm not sure I'm making an assumption here, but I think worldwide there might be some variation of what I'm about to say. But in America, there is a Cyber Monday that follows Black Friday where you have sales of the things that you would have bought in store, but you can order them online for a good price, a good discount, 70+% off. And I think that's remarkable because now you can order from the convenience of your home and you're not fighting tooth and nail over an item that might get you killed. Okay, so yeah, I understand the frustration about that because there are so many videos on the internet. Just type in Black Friday compilation in the United States of America and you will see some of the most egregious things you've ever seen in your entire life. Over shopping, okay? Shopping experiences. That should show you how good we have it out here though, right? I mean, our economy's booming, obviously, if people are fighting for scraps. Hooey, that is crazy. Anyways, our next comment says, lunch debt. Why is that a thing? Why are the children being held accountable and unable to graduate? It's a goddamn lunch. So let me explain this. In a lot of public schools, of course they have lunch available to everybody, but you have to pay for that lunch, for the cafeteria lunch. Now, if your family makes under a certain amount of money, then you're allowed to get free lunch. But for the people whose families who make over that amount, they have to pay that lunch fee. Now, I know this very vividly because I do remember people who had to pay the lunch fee, but they couldn't pay the fee because they left their money at home or whatever. They start racking up a debt. And if that debt is not paid off by the end of the school year, they cannot graduate. And it's crazy to say. I'm not sure what an alternate solution to that could be because it's like, how else do you guarantee that that kid pays what they're supposed to pay for the lunch? And this also begs another question. Is lunch in schools throughout Europe, is that free or do kids also have to pay for their lunch? I'm assuming they have to pay like everybody else has to pay worldwide, right? But in a school setting, I'm wondering if schools just provide the lunches for the children and they don't have to worry about coming out of pocket for that, because that's a very normal thing in the United States. And I'm assuming that's a normal thing in Europe as well, throughout all of Europe, no matter what country you're in. But I could have it wrong, and I would like to know in the comments if that's a normal thing or not. Also, if someone decides to not pay for their lunch, but they still want the lunch in the cafeteria, I'm assuming that they just don't get that lunch at said cafeteria in Europe, but I could be wrong. It depends on the country because each country has different legislation and stuff like that, and they have different ways on how they operate as far as their education systems go and their school environments go and whatnot. And I'm pretty sure that also feeds into the whole cafeteria thing or whatever. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you think about that and how it actually works, because I don't know. I have no idea. But our next comment brings up a very interesting point and says, why do you pay the taxes yourself? It's way easier to have it done for you by your state or country since you have to pay anyways. I am assuming that everybody has to pay their taxes themselves. Does your government pay your taxes for you? You don't get like a form at the end of the year where you have to file your own taxes. I don't know. I've always paid my own taxes. Like every year I have to pay my taxes like clockwork. I absolutely hate it. Okay. But it has to be done. It's a necessary evil. But I'm not sure how taxes are paid throughout Europe, right? Maybe it varies from country to country and whatnot. Maybe they're paid relatively the same way. Maybe the government pays your taxes by taking the taxes out of your paycheck and you don't have to worry about paying taxes at the end of the year. I don't know. I don't know how that works. So explain in the comments down below. You can be in any country in Europe, right? Just explain how the tax system works, where do you guys pay your own taxes, or does the government just withdraw that tax from your paycheck and then boom? Because we still get our taxes taken out of our paycheck, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the year, we have to file our taxes ourselves to get either a tax return or pay even more taxes that maybe the government missed out on. So that's a very interesting topic. I never even thought of that, to be honest. That's a pretty good question. Our next comment says, showing prices before tax. Like, my dudes, it looks cheaper, but it ain't. It's because we're dumb, all right? We're dumb. We fall for it every time. Every time. You could sell an item for $1.10 and we're gonna say to you, no, that's too fucking expensive, all right? That's too expensive. But you can sell the exact same item for 99 cents plus tax, which would still give you, in this example, $1.10 you have to pay at the counter. But because we see that it's just 99 cents without the tax added to it, we're like, oh yeah, we can afford that, but we're still paying $1.10. It's the illusion of the price looking smaller than what it actually is. It's a capitalism tactic that people fall for every time, man. It's insane. You're paying the exact same price for said item, except one method seems a little more dishonest than the other method, which is straightforward. You know what I mean? Like showing a price that's not the true price you're paying is ridiculous. Include the tax inside the price. We're in 2025. Why is every country not doing that? That's insane. Anyways, our next comment says, the lack of paid maternity leave. The thought of having to hand my children to strangers and go back to work weeks after giving birth. Nobody seems enraged about what that must do to babies and mothers. Yeah, people don't care about that. They care about cheddar cheese, making more money, and maternity leave means more time away from work, which means less productivity, which means less money. Capitalism. Gotta love it. Anyways, what do you guys think about that in the comments down below? Let me know. Our next comment says, I'm surprised nobody has mentioned the prison population. Yikes. That's a good point right there. So we have privatized prisons in the United States, and the people who own the prisons actually get paid a certain amount per prisoner. So the more people you have in your prison, the more money you make as the owner of the prison. So yeah, the prison population is pretty insane, and I'm pretty sure that living conditions for a lot of them are not good. I just saw a video recently of these kids that were in juvenile detention, and they were there serving like a few years and whatnot, and they showed what they had to shower in, right? They showed what their showers looked like. There was mold all over the place, and you know, it was real disgusting, just real disgusting looking. Now, yes, obviously it's supposed to be a prison / jail. It's not supposed to be paradise, but you should not be living in inhumane conditions. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're supposed to be in confinement, but not like put in an area that's like packed with all kind of diabolical, biological bacteria, infected, whatever. You know what I mean? It's kind of fucked up. Well, anyways, our next comment from one of you guys says, $50K for a university, while the average American earns around $40,000. To be honest, $50,000 for a college is very cheap compared to what most colleges cost. Honestly, yeah, most people do not pay their student debts off, which is insane. Not out of this world to believe, but very insane when you think about it. I mean, you would think that there'd be a way to circumvent all of that, but I guess not. One of the biggest pieces of advice I was given while I was in high school was to try to find a way to go through your life without accruing specifically student debt. Now, I have debt for my house because I took out a loan and bought my own house, but I'm paying that off. I've never missed a payment. I'm chilling, you know what I mean? But I don't have student debt. I refuse to accrue student debt. So I don't have student debt, and I'm one of the mighty few. But there are, most people in the United States have student debt that have gone through the education system, and it's unfortunate, very unfortunate, because of course, unless you have a high-paying job and you know your expenses are in order, you're not going to pay that off. So yeah, there's penalties that come with that too. So it's crazy. It's like the system's almost designed for you to fail, and I don't know. I'm not sure if there is a way out of that, if there is a viable solution, to be honest, at this point. So very good point. Very good point. Something that I've thought about, but not thoroughly. So yeah, you guys got us. Another issue issue that I wasn't tracking very well. But our next comment from one of you guys says, in Norway, we pay a deposit every time we buy soft drinks, beer, etc., and get that money refunded when we return the empty bottles back to the store. Why don't you have that? I don't get it. It's good for the environment and prevents people from just tossing them around everywhere. All right, correction. We do have something like that in the United States. We have these recycle facilities that you can take cans to. In fact, when I was younger, my aunt would take me to a recycle plant that was probably 30 minutes away from where we lived, and we would basically collect all the soda cans that we'd accrued for over like the past month in these bags, right? And we would take the bags and load them in her car, and we would drive to this recycle plant and we would turn them in for cash, right? And there are places like that, but I will be so honest, it is way more work to take those cans to that facility and go through the process of getting that money than just tossing them in a garbage can somewhere or littering. You know what I mean? It's easier to litter. It's easier to just toss it in any random trash can because they don't make it easy for you to make money from turning cans in, if that makes sense. Like, if you're next to a location, then yeah, it's relatively easy. You just bring it there and they take it, they give you your little monies and you leave, but they're not prevalent. You know what I mean? Like, there are facilities that will give you money for those cans or recyclables that you've collected, but you have to hunt them down. That's the problem. So it is far more convenient in Europe where they have, like, you know, at least in Germany, the Fun machine where you put the little plastic bottles and blah, blah, blah in and you get your little money back, but they don't really have a efficient way in the United States yet where you can exchange your cans or bottles or whatever, recyclables, for money. Now, we have a facility that you can do that in, but again, it's not convenient to go there. You have to drive out of your way. And honestly, the amount of gas you would spend to get there would be way more than what you would get back from that. So it's almost like it's not even worth it at that point. So people will litter. People will take recyclables and put them in regular garbage cans instead because it's convenient. You know what I mean? People will do what is convenient. If you want to save the environment, make it convenient to save the environment. If it's inconvenient, less people will try to save the environment. And that's just kind of how it goes. Our next comment says, people literally dying because they cannot afford to pay for their insulin anymore. Yeah, that's very saddening, right? People are dying because they can't afford insulin, and yet there are rich people that are using that same insulin for weight loss products and whatnot. They're using that like as an optional weight loss drug. They're like, oh, okay, I'll just buy all of the insulin so I can lose weight, when they can just literally get on a treadmill and whatnot. There's nothing physically wrong with them. They're doing it because it's like a fad right now, the Ozempic thing. So it's unfortunate. That's kind of how the system is designed in America. If you're rich, you can afford all kinds of medical care and healthcare treatments and stuff like that. If you're poor, then GG's. You have to pay an arm, a leg, and a goat sacrifice. And since you can't afford that, you get no health care. You get no medical care. And if you do get medical care, you'll be spending your entire life paying off that one bill from that one experience that you had. Mind you, if you live long enough, you're going to accrue a lot of medical bills and expenses and what have you. So it's a very sad system that needs work. And currently we have 1,000,003 other battles that we're fighting. So I don't think we're going to quite get to the solution on that particular one anytime soon. But if there are any solutions that you guys see that we are just not implementing, let me know in the comments, because I would love to hear from you guys, especially for something like that. That makes a lot of sense as far as like something that needs to be fixed ASAP. Now, our next comment from one of you guys says, the whole pledging allegiance to the flag thing, that's just weird to us. Trust me, in 2025, it's weird to a lot of Americans as well. Now, super hyper patriotic Americans, no, it's not weird to them, but America is waking up, right? It's like, there are some things we should probably redo, or we should change. We should make some changes that make more sense to today's timeline. You know what I mean? Like, there were some things that made sense in the past. There was a lot of pride in the United States, and patriotism was at an all-time high way back when. Now, America is split in every type of way but loose, and it is very chaotic. So the pledging to a flag seemed very odd to me always, especially growing up, because I'm like, oh, why do we do this? Like, what happens if we don't do it? Does it make us less American? It's awful strange to me. That's like, there's a lot of weirdness around it. And I remember there were not that many other people that pledged to flags, but I think I can name a particular group of people that pledged to a flag and it didn't have a good connotation to it. I remember a time where we had international exchange students come to our school, and in the morning before school started, we had to, you know, stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance or say the pledge and stuff, you know, and face the flag and do our thing. And all of the international exchange students are looking at each other and they're like, what the fuck is going on? Is this a cult thing? Like, huh? And I'm like, nah, it's just something we do every day. And they're like, well, why do you guys do that? And I didn't have a good answer. I had no answer. And I knew that there was one time that a kid did not say the Pledge of Allegiance because he just didn't want to, and he got in trouble for it. You know what I mean? So yeah, it is weird. It is a little weird. Good observation. Anyways, our next comment from one of you guys says, these king-size drinks in fast food joints. Who can drink that much? Me. I know, I don't look that big, but I eat a lot, okay? I eat a lot. You'll have to see it to believe it, so I'll probably make a video where I show you guys how much I eat so you guys can see for yourselves. I like those mega-sized drinks in the States. You get the most bang for your buck. If the drink is like 10 bucks and you get a gallon of juice or you get 2 liters of drink for the price of $10, why complain over it? That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Save some for later. You know what I mean? Take it home with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's good. I like the massive portion sizes. I love that. I miss it sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I'm in Korea right now. The portion sizes, depending on where you go, are big for some things and definitely small for others. Like water, the portion size for water here is tiny, but then the portion sizes for food are quite massive. I'm not gonna lie, depending on where you go, for sure. And our last comment of this video says, how is the death penalty justified when, number 1, it's been proven that innocent people have been executed. Number 2, it doesn't even make a dent in the prison population, not even 0.01%. Number 3, it doesn't save money because of the necessary, C.1, lengthy trial and appeals process. Number 4, it doesn't act as a deterrent because criminal psychology and basic common sense says that people who commit serious crimes do not believe they will be caught and do not weigh life sentences against capital punishment. Murder-suicide is quite popular. Number 5, most of the world has abolished or is in the process of abolishing it, leaving pretty much only the worst names like North Korea, Saudi Arabia, and China. Yikes. See, that was a lot of the points I made when I got into a little argument with an individual at work years ago about that very same topic. I was approached by a coworker and he's like, hey, I have a quick question. Do you agree with us having the death penalty? And I said no, but the reason why I said no is because if there is even an iota of a chance that they get it wrong and they get the wrong person, we should not have a system in place that takes your literal life. Because what happens if you take the wrong person's life? Kind of like what's already happened. They kind of say, whoops, we're sorry. Maybe next time we'll get the right person. That's not good enough. Because if you can point to somebody and accuse them of doing something, and then the sentence for the thing that you're accusing them of doing, mind you, that they did not do at all, is the death penalty, and it goes through, and you killed them legally? You legally murdered somebody. You murdered somebody. That's crazy. That's crazy. So I feel like a system like that where there is any possibility where you can get the wrong person killed doesn't need to exist. There are plenty of other solutions that are way more effective that would take care of criminals that are, in the eyes of a lot of people, deserving, quote unquote, of a penalty like that. So a lot of really good points brought up in this video today. Let me know what you guys thought about that. If there are points and problems that have not been voiced in this video from you all, let me know in the comments down below. I found this off of a Reddit thread and it was very entertaining. There were so many good points about issues that exist in the United States that I literally wasn't tracking and that a lot of Europeans just genuinely don't understand. And although I understand a lot of the issues that we have in the United States, it's kind of crazy to think that all this time has passed and some of those issues have been issues for decades, sometimes even centuries, you know what I'm saying? And nothing's changed, nothing's changed. So hopefully, fingers crossed that something happens in the future. But until the next time I see your beautiful faces again, take care. Peace.